Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more real stories that stay with you long after they're over. I never thought marriage could sound like silence, not the comforting kind that lives between two people at peace, but the kind that comes when there's nothing left to say. I'm Daniel, 38. For most of my life, I believed love meant patience. I've since learned that sometimes it just means surviving. When I met Laura, she was a spark in human form. People noticed her everywhere she went. Her laugh, her energy, the way she seemed to light up a room without even trying. I was the opposite, quieter, more grounded. Maybe that's why we worked in the beginning. Her chaos, my calm. But over time, that balance faded. Her voice filled every space while mine slowly disappeared. The first time she told me, "Don't take everything so seriously," it was after I found messages from a man named Travis. Nothing explicit, but flirty enough to hurt. She brushed it off with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You're overreacting," she said, and I wanted to believe her. I had to, because love makes you rewrite what's real until the pain feels easier to carry. But small cracks have a way of spreading. She started coming home late, dressing up for girls' nights, leaving her phone face down more often. When I asked if we were okay, her answer was always the same: "You're too sensitive." Funny thing about hearing that enough times, you start believing it. You start mistaking your instincts for flaws. I kept trying: date nights, flowers, weekend trips. Every effort met with the same distant half-smile, like I was amusing her. Once, I suggested counseling. She laughed. "Marriage isn't therapy, Daniel. It's supposed to be fun." "Is it fun for you?" I asked. She smiled, slow and deliberate. That night, lying beside her, listening to her breathe, I realized it no longer comforted me. It just reminded me how far away she drifted, even when she was right there. Months passed. Our home became polite, quiet, like co-workers sharing a kitchen. Then one night, while I was cooking, she glanced up from her phone and said casually, "You know, if you're not happy, you could always find someone else." I froze. The ease in her voice, the teasing smile, something in me shifted. She expected anger, maybe a fight, but all I felt was clarity. It wasn't her words that hurt. It was how easily she said them. I'd spent years chasing a version of her that didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never had. Maybe I was in love with a memory. So I started to let go, not with anger, but with calm. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped fixing things she didn't care were broken. I went back to the gym, joined a running group, cooked for one instead of two. Of course, she noticed. People always notice when the attention they took for granted suddenly disappears. "Going somewhere?" she asked one evening as I put on a jacket. "Yeah, meeting some friends." "Since when do you have friends?" she teased. "Since I stopped waiting for you to come home," I said. She rolled her eyes, trying to brush it off, but I saw the flicker of unease behind her expression. A few weeks later, I met someone, Emma. She wasn't dazzling like Laura. She didn't command every room, but she listened. She laughed easily. She cared. Coffee twice a week turned into dinner once in a while. Nothing inappropriate, just connection. The kind I'd forgotten existed. One evening, Laura asked me to help move boxes in the garage. As we worked, she glanced at me. "You've been different lately." "Cold." I asked. "I'm not cold. I'm just done being warm where it's not wanted." She smirked, the same dismissive smile she always used. "Don't like it? Find someone else." I looked at her, really looked, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel pain. I felt truth. "I already did," I said. Her smile faltered. Her eyes widened. Panic replaced arrogance. The silence didn't feel empty anymore. It felt like closure. For a moment, she just stood there, mouth slightly open, like her brain couldn't keep up. Then she laughed. Too sharp, too loud, a sound to fill the space before reality set in. "Cute," she said, shaking her head. "Trying to make me jealous?" I didn't reply. I didn't need to. My silence said enough. It always had. She just never cared to listen. She followed me into the kitchen, her voice rising. "So who is she? One of your gym buddies?" That woman from work who keeps liking your posts. I rinsed my hands, dried them, and said quietly, "Does it matter?" The calm in my voice rattled her more than anger ever could. She wanted to fight, a sign I still cared enough to argue. But I was done drowning in that noise. All I wanted now was peace. She stormed off, muttering something about a midlife crisis. I let her go. For the first time, I didn't chase the conversation. I'd been running after her for so long that standing still finally felt like freedom. That night, she slept on her side, back turned, her phone glowing faintly in her hand. I stared at the light spilling over her shoulder and realized how long I'd mistaken distance for devotion. Love doesn't always leave with a bang. Sometimes it just fades quietly while you're still holding the door open. In the days that followed, she cycled through emotions, anger, sarcasm, slammed doors, empty questions, then finally curiosity. Where are you going? Who are you meeting? And then softly, "You've been quiet lately. Are we okay?" Clarity makes everything simple. "We're fine," I said, "just heading in different directions." She didn't like that. Maybe she expected me to beg. But the truth doesn't need convincing. One evening, over dinner, the first we'd shared in weeks, she asked, "Are you sleeping with her?" I looked up. "No, but I'm honest with her. That's more than I can say for us." Her fork froze midair. I saw her eyes soften, the first real crack in her armor. "So this is it?" she whispered. "This was a long time ago," I said. "We just kept pretending." The next morning, I packed my things, only what was mine. I didn't want to leave in anger. I just wanted to leave. I left her the house, the furniture, the comfort routine. I took my clothes, my books, my peace. At the door, she appeared. "Daniel, wait," she said, her voice trembling, stripped of sarcasm. I didn't mean it. That day in the garage, I was just joking. I turned, met her eyes, and for the first time, I saw fear, not manipulation, but real fear. The kind that comes when someone realizes you're serious. "I know," I said softly, "but you meant the part that assumed I'd never actually leave." "And this other woman?" she asked quietly. "Is she the reason?" "No," I said. "You are. She just reminded me what it feels like to be seen." We stood there for a long second. Then I reached for the handle. "I hope you find what you were chasing," I said. "I'm done being the thing you run from." Outside, the air felt lighter. The night sky looked clearer. Freedom doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just exhales. A week later, I met Emma at a cafe. She asked how it went. I told her the truth. No bitterness, no drama. She smiled softly. "So what now?" I laughed. Now I remember who I was before I started apologizing for existing. She reached across the table and touched my hand. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel the need to explain myself. I just felt enough. Closure doesn't always come from forgiveness or revenge. Sometimes it comes the moment you stop auditioning for a love that was never yours. Laura texted a few times afterward, nostalgic, confused. I never replied. There was nothing left to explain. When she said, "Don't like it? Find someone else," she never thought I would. And when I did, the confidence she wore like armor cracked into panic. Not because she lost me, but because she finally realized I was never hers to throw away.